Awesome. Wow. Excellent. Really glad you all joined us this morning. I'm Will Healy. I'm with a company called Universal Robots out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Actually, not Ann Arbor anymore. Novi, Michigan, Boston, and Denmark. But I'm also a board member at the AMIP and been with AMIP since, I don't know, 2019, maybe, somewhere in there. So been a while. This morning, we're going to talk about Manufacturing Day. And I know that's in October, but it's kind of coming up on us quickly, right? So really exciting, actually. So we have to plan now if we want to be able to do things in October. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you have questions, it's kind of hard for me to see the chat and stuff. Just unmute your mic and talk. I'll be able to hear you. We got a couple people in the room too, and we will, if they have questions, we'll make sure they get close to the microphone so you can hear them. So agenda today, hopefully we can get through all of this. We've got, why Manufacturing Month. Cincinnati actually has an awesome Manufacturing Month track record that I want to share with you. And then we want to go into, what goes into a great Manufacturing Day tour and really questions to think about. Each tour is a little bit different, but when you look at tours across each one, you see similar commonalities. And so we're going to talk about that. And then Lacey hopefully is going to help me out with some resources available for hosts. I have a couple of slides on that as well. And then we will have a collaborative discussion. So hopefully those out on the Zoom and those here in the room, we can share some insights, ideas, experiences, and answer anybody's questions who's on the call today. So why Manufacturing Month? The big thing is there are workforce shortages everywhere. I don't have to beat this bush too hard. I think all of us know that. But I want you to know that manufacturing, transportation, and logistics, I just looked at the BLS data that came out in August for the first half of the year. And in manufacturing, logistics, transportation, and warehousing, we have 1.1 million unfilled jobs across the United States. But in retail, food service, and in accommodation, they have like 1.8 million unfilled jobs. And in hospitals and service work related to medical, they also have 1.8 million unfilled jobs, and with a total of like 9.6 million unfilled jobs. So what I want you to know is one of the reasons we do Manufacturing Day is people don't know it's a good career. And there are 9.6 million unfilled jobs out there. We're competing with all these other employers that are down the street from you, not just other manufacturers. You're competing with all these other opportunities out there. And to be honest with you, social media influencer is now a tracked position and role by the government. And the median income of a social media influencer in the United States is $60,000. Just for context. So social media influencer. I don't make any money out of it. I just do it for fun. No, man, I am not. But I know people making six figures doing it, and there are many of them. So really, you're competing with all these other opportunities that are out there. And the opportunities aren't going to get, it's not going to get easier to hire people and recruit them into our industry because there are 10,000 boomers a day retiring, according to the census. And so 10,000 boomers a day retiring means there's a lot of opportunities and they can pick a lot of things. So we need Manufacturing Month to be able to show people how awesome manufacturing careers are. The other statistic, this one's from 2019, but I thought it was still very relevant, and I'm sure the numbers are very similar. They surveyed participants of Manufacturing Day in 2019, and participants were 84% more convinced that manufacturing provided careers that are interesting and rewarding. 89% were more aware of manufacturing jobs in their own community and potential to stay and work in their own community with a good job. And 64% of those who attended a Manufacturing Month event were more motivated to pursue a career in manufacturing than they were before the event. And so this is really important experiences that we're providing, showing that manufacturing is a good opportunity. And then a few more pieces of data I've stole from around the internet, and somehow I've lost the links. I wish I could tell you where they came from. I'll have to go find them if you really want to know. But 63% of students identify personal experience as the leading influence over their career path. And so a personal experience could be just a manufacturing tour, right? And visiting your plant and seeing what you do, or just making something with you. And then those familiar with manufacturing are 2 times as likely to encourage a young person in a manufacturing career. So it's not even about engaging the students on Manufacturing Month. Take October as your opportunity when you're standing on the side of a soccer field to talk to other parents about how great a career manufacturing is. Talk to them while you're standing on a Friday Night Lights football game at halftime about how great a manufacturing career is, because, people are unhappy with their jobs. There's a lot of moving around. There's a lot of opportunity. And so, somebody might be asking you, what's it like to work at your company? What's it like to work in your industry? And it's because they don't like what they're doing. And so we can even look at adults and think of Manufacturing Month, not just about the tour you're giving at your plant, but ability to engage in your whole community. I really like this slide. This came from the meeting I missed, I think, August 2nd meeting from AMIP third quarter meeting. But this one was really interesting because what we see is a familiarity with manufacturing directly creates a more positive perception of the industry. And so it's really important that we are helping people be familiar, because the only pictures they know are pictures in an old textbook from high school that show a Henry Ford factory that's dark and black and white with a bunch of people standing around an old car, or a steel mill from World War II and kind of a rusty steel mill. And so we are very different than that industry, especially in Cincinnati. We have a lot of advanced manufacturing technology companies and a lot of really cool companies making a lot of really cool stuff that people interface with every day. And so we need to make that familiarity to get a better positive perception of our industry. For you as employers that are out there, this allows us to nurture students, parents, and teachers' interest in the jobs and careers that we have. It helps them understand the education and the skills needed to enter the industry. And it helps, you as an employer advance your reputation as supporters of education. I mean, Monty and Richards are known for really engaging the community and being great places to work. And so when we foster relationships with our local community, it creates a better perception of our business, and we become less mysterious to people, and they want to work there. I love what Batesville Tool and Die does in Batesville. They go to every local basketball game and band concert and everything, and they just set up a table and they talk about manufacturing at every event that's going on through the whole year at the local high school. And employees will stand there and talk to other people, and it's a really huge opportunity to engage the local community. For your employees, it's an opportunity to connect with local students and share what they're doing and how they got there and tell their story, how they can gain experience and be an ambassador for the company. And then it helps them actually be more engaged with your company, connect with your company, and have happier and a better job satisfaction. When we look at why manufacturing and why Manufacturing Day is so important, when we look at every dollar spent, there's a total impact. There's a 2.7 impact on our local economies. So as we're looking around our community and we're looking around those other businesses around us, we're making those. Manufacturers are making those sustainable businesses because of manufacturing being in your local community. And there are nice, good paying jobs that are above. We had Cincinnati State a couple of years ago. The economics department did a study. For you to be a sustainable by yourself, living on your own, you need about $41,000 a year in Cincinnati. And so an average salary of $65,000 in Ohio is a really great opportunity for people to make a living wage and to be able to survive and thrive in the state of Ohio. And there are similar stats for Kentucky. I don't have them in this presentation, but we can pull them if you want them. And then year after year, Ohio manufacturing leads all the industry sectors in Ohio in total wages. And so this is really huge. Ohio's a major, if you just take Ohio manufacturing as an employer, it is one of the top employers in the country, right behind California and Texas. So Ohio manufacturing, if we want to improve this, we have to do something to make it better. And really what I'm trying to tell you is we fix our skill shortage through local action, engaging with the schools around you, engaging with the communities around you, engaging with the people who live in your community, with your neighbors and your friends and the people you go to church with. When we engage with those people and we talk about it, That's how we fix the skills shortage. We're not gonna get it fixed by the National Association of Manufacturers doing what they're doing. They're doing great things and they're empowering us, but really ultimately this gets fixed by us engaging one school and one organization at a time, and one person and one student at a time. So Cincinnati has an awesome manufacturing month track record. I'm not gonna beat this too hard, but I just wanted to share with you individual companies. Like, I should have put Richards on here. I'm sorry, I totally should have thought of that. But individual companies have been doing this for years and years and years, like Standex and Balluff and Reinstall and Mubia and Richards and Monty. And there are so many companies that have been doing this for even earlier than 2015, opening their doors and evangelizing about the awesome careers in manufacturing. And so the first actual organized AMIP event was organized with the Partners for Competitive Workforce through the United Way, thank you, and has really kind of grown from there. And so in 2019, we really pushed hard and we organized 67 events scheduled in the month of October, and we impacted more than 5,000 students that we were able to document across Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana regions. And that was really, we were cooking. We were setting up already for 2020 to be like even bigger. We had even bigger things. We had coverage from news lined up. It was going to be absolutely huge. And then 2020 happened, and we all know what happened there. But we made a hard shift, and a lot of our employers did amazing things. The picture in the bottom is Monty doing virtual tours for classrooms, and people were getting on calls with students and just sharing about manufacturing over virtual calls. And Balluff created this digital experience with interviews from government officials and teachers and people who work in the industry in all different kinds of careers. And so 10 manufacturers ran more than 30 in-person sessions, while others offered virtual tours and lessons. And we impacted just over 2,000 students that we were able to document in 2020, which I think is pretty huge considering the monumental shift that we were able to do. Somehow, I have lost all the data for 2021. I spent an embarrassing amount of time trying to find it, and I couldn't find it, so I just had to stop. But it's out there somewhere. If someone has the 21 data, I would love it. Sean Kelly, I'm looking at you. And then October 22, really we started ramping up again. 21 still had a lot of hybrid execution, and October 22 with AMIP, we organized Pala Chemical, Monty, General Tool, Pioneer Glazing. There were over 60 manufacturers, many who are in this call, that organized events. We had 9 counties that were represented across northern Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. And we had about more than 2,500 students impacted that we were able to document. And that's really awesome. And they learned about all kinds of different careers. And I'm really excited that we're able to keep this going on that level. More than 2,000 students engaged again, year over year over year. It's just really incredible. And so you are part of this solution, right? If we're having talent pipeline challenges in Cincinnati Metro, you're part of that solution because we have to act local. And so that's why you're here, and that's why we need you to be a part of our manufacturing month here in Cincinnati to help build that excitement and build that energy. And so what goes into a great manufacturing day tour? My first comment to you, what goes into a great manufacturing day tour, is a lot of teachers assign their students to look up your company online and like write a little paper or write a little story or write something about your organization. And so my first comment to you is, these are Gen Zs. They're digital natives, right? My kids are 5, 8, and 11, and they all have an iPad, and they're always looking things up and building their own PowerPoints and about things they want to know stuff about. And so they're researching you before they visit you. And so what does your digital presence look like? Can you open your website on a Chromebook? Can you visit it on a mobile device? Do you have a video already that shows interesting things you're doing? Do you have a digital presence on YouTube or on Instagram or places where they are? Where are you meeting them? And what does your digital presence look like? If you don't exist online, you're going to seem sus right out of the gate. They are not going to trust, where are we going? What is this place? And they're going to want to know that. So what goes into a great manufacturing day tour? And you can do all kinds of cool things. I've seen really impressive, incredibly complex things with multiple schools coming and going and thousands of students in one manufacturer in 2 days. Monty, I'm looking at you, but like really, if you have a scout troop with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, or you have a scout troop that comes and visits with 12 students, that's a win. We want to know about that. If you have a homeschool group with 5 students and a couple parents, we want to know about that. That's a win. So it doesn't have to be this monstrous trade show level experience. We saw if they have a positive experience, they're going to have a positive impression. And so what I'm asking you and what we're really looking at is, when I look across all the different experiences you see and you look at all the ways people have executed manufacturing day, there's no one right way to do this, right? There's lots of different ways that organizations have done it. I see really 3 things that make it special, that make it memorable. They have some sort of experience where they take a tour, they physically go see something, they make something, or they build something. They have an experience. Even the tour, just walking around, is a good experience. The next, you educate them on something. You share with them about how you get this degree, or how you get this position with their apprenticeship, or whatever it is. You're really educating them. And last, show them something exciting. And they get excited about a number of things. You know, they get excited when you share your story. Why was your company founded? That is a really powerful story a lot of times. And your story is interesting. Your company wouldn't exist if there wasn't a story there. So what's your story? What are your processes? You do cool things, you make stuff, right? And so when we share our processes, that can excite them too. Welding is a fun one, you know, have them all stand behind a red curtain and watch some metal get glued together. That's neat. Or if you're making food, or you're bending metal, whatever it is you're making, show them your processes. Really show them your process. Explain why you're doing what you're doing on your tour, and that's going to get them excited. These are digital natives, and when they're digital natives, it means they're global citizens. Borders don't matter on the internet, and so their favorite TikToker might be a South African. Their favorite YouTube star might be a guy in South Korea. So, you know, really, they are global citizens. And so what's interesting about young people is they want to know, how are you impacting our world? And so if you can tell them how your company is creating a positive impact, that's going to get them excited. And then anything you can put in their hands, even just putting a part, we make boxes of crayons or whatever it is, you put something in their hand and they get to hold it and turn it around and look at it. That's a win for them, and that's an excitement, that's an engagement. And last but not least, I mean, what I would call the ultimate thing, if you can do it, is something where they're building something. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in your production. We've done stuff as simple in my previous employer, where we had them build paper bridges for 20 minutes and saw whose bridge could hold the most weight. We had them build paper towers and see who could build the tallest tower in 20 minutes. Using their minds and challenging them, that's going to get them excited. So there's lots of ways to get them excited. And so that's the one people usually are like, well, what we do is not that exciting. No, there's lots of ways you can get them excited, and you could try a couple of these. You don't necessarily need all 5. So who in your company, when you're building your tour, you're thinking about what's going to be in your tour, who in your company can tell the best story? And I'm going to tell you, it's probably not the plant manager. Really?
Why is that, Will?
Because you want someone who's going to tell that story. And so it's the salesman. The plant manager knows all the processes intimately. They're typically a very technical oriented person. And so they know the business part, but you really need someone who's been able to sell the story, right? And so I would argue, not that the plant manager can't do it, but I would look to, do you have a salesperson or a customer service person or someone in your company who's worked there a long time that's always telling the best fishing stories? Like those people, who's telling the best story? That's how we're going to engage the students, right? And so a lot of the best tours I've been on are actually the salespeople giving the tour, because they're able to understand the audience and talk about it in a certain way, or even marketing people are able to kind of do that. Also, who in the company could tell the best story? You know, who knows the company's story? If you have a dynamic founder, maybe it's that person. But you know, sometimes it's not always who knows the company in the most detail. It's about the person who can tell the best story, and that usually makes for a great tour. I'm not saying you can't have the plant manager do it. Just think about who tells the best stories. And brief stories always help too. Good. So I'm not a good tour guide because I tend to tell stories too many. So and then where are you investing in technology? I mean, I didn't bring any of my phones up here. That is like kind of my heart just went, where's my phone? But you know, they are always investing in technology, right? So they're thinking they're buying the newest iPhone. They're waiting overnight to go get whatever that new tech is. And so they want to know, oops, I went too far. Where are you investing in technology? They want to know what's something cool you just bought, what's something you bought, what's something you've invested in. Even if it's software, talk about it. If you've invested in cybersecurity, talk about it. If you've invested in order entry automation, talk about it. If you've invested in automation in the plant, talk about it. Or a new machine, why did you buy that machine, and how does it benefit your employees, and where are you investing? And the reason you got to talk about where you're investing in technology is because they are very committed to what's that new device or what's that new technology. That's their culture, is what's that new technology. And so they want to see that you're going to invest in the company and those technologies, and that's going to get them excited too. And then, you know, we want to share, what are those production manufacturing roles? What are those roles, whether it's a welder or a machinist or an electrician or a maintenance tech or an operator or whatever those roles are? What are those production manufacturing roles? The supervisors and the quality inspection and the continuous improvement team and all those kinds of things. What are those roles in your organization? But don't forget the other roles you have. To run a manufacturer, you need many roles besides the production people. You need accountants and marketing and sales and management and HR, and there's all these other careers in manufacturing that are likely just as many people in your organization that aren't touching the production, that are an important part of the business. And it's important to highlight them, you know, like IT department and things like that. So when you're on your tour, don't just fly through the cubicles. Explain what those people are doing, and maybe have an opportunity to talk about what those people are doing and how they got those jobs and what kinds of things they research. And because those are probably positions you're having a hard time filling too. And then I mentioned, these are global citizens, right? These kids, they want to be part of something bigger, and they want to know, how are you making the world a better place? And so talk about your sustainability initiatives. They may not be able to see the giant array of solar panels on your roof. Have a picture or fly a drone out there and show them, whatever it is. Like, talk about what you're doing, your recycling program or whatever it is. Make sure you mention and point out how you are being sustainable, because that's something they really care about. And how are you making the world a better place? And how does what you're doing connect into the whole picture of the planet? That's something that they want to know, and that's something that's going to get them excited. And then I already kind of mentioned it, but how can they touch something, you know, out on the floor, pick up a part you're making and hand it around, you know, have them, I saw a really cool one where they were actually having students program little cars with a microcontroller. I mean, some really neat things that we can do. You don't have to be that complex, just handing them a part so they can look at it, handed them that. I'm going to get my box of crayons. I don't know why they're on this table, but you know, get the box of crayons and hand that around and talk about how that's made, and show them on the machine how the metal's bent, show them how it's welded together, show them and have them walk around with that piece of metal. Even if it's scrap ones, they don't know that those are the scrap. So, I mean, you can let them keep it, and they're going to keep that. I mean, I have a piece of metal someone gave me 10 years ago sitting on my wall at home, my home office. So, you know, it really, it creates a physical a connection with it. When you touch something, you create a much more physical bond with it, and you feel a much more positive experience to it. And so how can they touch something? When you're walking through the plant, think about how they could touch something, because mostly you're going to tell them, don't touch that forklift, don't touch that pile of metal, it's sharp. Don't tell, you know, like you're going to tell them a lot, don't touch it. So tell them where they can touch things, and it'll make it a much more positive experience. And of course, you have to talk about safety on the tour. That's something you want to talk about, and how you focus on safety. And you can show light curtains or the safety gates, or explain how you're keeping your employees safe in your space, and when to touch things and when not to touch things. And then really, ultimately, how can they make something? I've seen incredible opportunities where people actually have the students make parts, or carve their name, or etch their name in something, or laser etch their name in something. Yeah, that's really cool. But if you're just trying to figure out, you know, what's the baseline, what can I do? I mean, this is the next step. you don't necessarily have to do this. If you can have them touch that box of crayons, oh gosh, I almost dumped my box of crayons. But if you can have them touch that box of crayons, that's a win. But if you can have them make something either in the plant or just like I said, a paper tower, that's really a win for the students. It burns a memory in, because they were problem solving in this, and they were really engaging their brain, right? They were thinking. And so when we can get them thinking, that's there. And then last but not least, while you're going through and showing the jobs and you're on the tour, just keep reminding them, how do they get to this position? This is a pre-apprenticeship in high school, or this is an apprenticeship program through a local tech school, or this is a 2-year maintenance tech degree, or this is, we work with Sinclair and we do this program, or whatever it is. Tell them how they get to the job. So if you educate them and you get them excited and you engage them this way, how do you help them figure out what that path is to get to that role? And a lot of them don't know that, and even the teachers don't know that. So you're going to be educating the teachers, you're going to be educating the chaperones, and you're going to be educating the students all at the same time. Graders want it as this really nice kind of summary outline of like the kinds of things that you can do. If you just feel like you can't host it, I think I heard a couple of people say they're hosting kind of like a fair or a manufacturing day event. I've seen that at a couple of organizations. Maybe try to join one of those things instead. I know Gateway Community College always does some kind of open house thing where they invite people in for a tour at Gateway, and then manufacturers run tables there and talk about what they do. So there are many ways you can engage. You don't even necessarily have to open your door. Of course, we want you to open your doors and take people on tours. That's really the best way to engage. But there are lots of ways that we can engage. And even maybe you don't feel like you can invite students in, talk to the school and offer to come and give a presentation and bring parts with you and show some videos to students and give a presentation at a school. Yeah, that works too. All of these things, there's lots of ways to engage. And there's lots of ways to create a positive impression of manufacturing. So resources available. Lacey, I'm gonna, if you want to present these or talk about it, I do want to leave a little time for questions. I went a little longer than I wanted to.
Yeah, that's okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some links in the chat. So if you want to go on and advance to the next slide, Will.
Yep.
So on our website, we have a ton of stuff regarding Manufacturing Month. We have a large host guide, which you'll get a little preview of on the next slide here in just a second, but I did want to call out a couple of things. So under where it says need some assistance, there are 2 forms there, one for our manufacturing partners and one for our education partners. And we are willing to help multiple different ways, whether that's connecting you with a school or connecting you with a manufacturing partner, helping you promote that event, and so on and so forth. There's also additional resources there as far as like the marketing and communications of your event. If you want to send out a press release and get some more brand recognition for that, you're absolutely welcome to. We have a messaging guide that has all kinds of different things in it, from press releases to media advisories to some social posts, all of those things. And it's all templated. So if you just want to take that template and make it your own, that will help you promote your event as much as possible. But if you also want our assistance, just feel free to reach out by filling out that form. Additionally, there's another form that we have that once you confirm an event, so you have an actual date, you know how many students and so on and so forth. Each year we promote this as a region. So as you saw the 2022 numbers, there was a press release that went out and it went to multiple different media, like publications and such. So what happens is we kind of congregate all of our data and we share what we have going on as a region. And of course, we're really proud of what we do here in Cincinnati. So we absolutely want to make that mark. So once you confirm anything about your event, if you have multiple, you can fill it out multiple times. And we'll be able to collect all of that. So that way, at the end of this November, we can recognize each company. We can recognize the number of students that we had go through these tours and so on and so forth. So, Will, I will hand it back over to you.
Awesome. So Lacey mentioned the guide, and it's really incredible, the host guide. Please go download that. It's been shared on the AMIP page, the web page, as well as in the social media accounts. It is literally, you just step-by-step work through the book and you will have an event at the end of the book. I mean, Lacey has done a really nice job on that. And then there's some other ones I just want to point out. There's this really awesome site, especially for educators in the room or those working with the students, is makingohio.com resources. There are online manufacturing games that are there for free for students to play. If you are maybe you want to create an experience in your room, or you need to burn 20 minutes before the bus comes, you know, you could have them play the games. There's also there's like a virtual reality manufacturing plant tour. There are like link after link after link there. Making Ohio has so many great tools there for engaging with students. If you want to talk about compensation and benefits, Barnes Denning did a really nice presentation earlier in the year, and then the National Association of Manufacturers did more webinars that go into much more detail. If you want more than what I covered today or what Lacey covers in her tools, NAM has a series of 4 or 5 webinars there that are really powerful. So I want to make sure we get enough time for discussion. We do have about 15 minutes, give or take. Maybe y'all at these tables over here will come over here, and I'll put the speaker on the table so we can all hear. But the collaborative discussion, I want to open it up. If you're new to Manufacturing Day, what questions do you have? If you're an experienced manufacturer, what have you done? And if you're an educator, what have you seen sites do that made this easy? So I'm going to stop sharing so we can see the people. And then I'm going to put the speaker here, and I'm going to put the camera over here, and then we are all part of the conversation.
We'll call on Mike Nager.
Okay, Mike Nager. Okay.
I'm sorry, I heard
Mike.
my name. Yes.
Yeah, Mike, tell your story.
Which story are you referring to? I'm sorry.
about some of your tours. You put an interesting thing in the chat talking about staging a bag of stuff that you normally would bring to a trade show.
Yeah, when Will was talking about those tangible items, you know, a lot of companies have like kind of cool, like little swaggy type things that you would bring to a trade show and hand out to potential customers. You know, if you treat these people coming through the plant as a potential customer in a way that you want to be a future employee, those things can go a long way. And like Will said, some people will keep them for 10 years, depending on the object. So.
Yeah, it becomes their favorite pen, amazingly. I'm amazed how that stuff populates all over. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, I liked you said that, you know, this was a sales opportunity. So you're really trying to convince people to make a life-changing decision about going into manufacturing. So the sales analogy was very apropos, I think.
Yeah. So
cool.
Bill gives a great tour. Bill, would you tell a Richard story?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main things we do is break it down as smaller groups as possible. You don't want to have one person leading 10 people through. If you can break it down into 3 or 4 people, it's much more engaging to have them involved there. We've actually had students run a weld lathe, which really is just pushing a button, but it's still, you know, they're pretty interested in that. You know, and then we always make sure we bring the bigger group back together and, you know, share, make sure the students are sharing what they saw, you know, because everybody sees things a little bit different. Yeah.
Thank you. You give a great tour. Molly Fender, would you come off mute and tell a Monty story?
Yeah, so I think it's important to expose the students to as many different career pathways that involve different levels of education. I have some senior tenured employees that are just really witty and funny, who have been with the company that started at 18 and been with us for 25 years. People who have, you know, grown with the business, and then also some of the younger people. I think that representation matters in these tours, so it's good to have all walks of life. The students, they do want to see people that look like them, that you know, that they could see that right out of high school they did this, and then they utilized Monty's tuition assistance program, and then that's where it got them into engineering. So I try to have as many of success stories with our business as possible. And then once we go on the plant tour, I have maybe 3 or 4 designated stops where people have parts that they can hold. Again, like Bill mentioned, smaller groups as much as possible so that they can get up close to the machine or even into a weld booth. But just realize that there's a whole, you want the kids to be able to see themselves there, but they also need to learn the success stories of people who started at 18 and look where they've gotten.
But to add to what Molly said, the one other thing that we try to do, we're making valves and regulators, really not very sexy. But we always share with them that, we had product that went into ventilators for COVID. We've got products that are being utilized to make Titleist golf balls. I mean, it's all over the world and international, and make people very aware of that, because when you just look at the product that we're making, people aren't going to get that excited about it, but where it's being utilized and the benefits, as Will indicated, that it's some of the things we're doing really make a difference to a lot of different people. So
that's cool. That's cool. Thank you. Jennifer, I see you up there. Talk ice cream.
Well, we did something a little different last year. We adopted a class at a fourth grade class. So we decided, let's get the message out to younger audiences. And so we're in the valve industry as well. And so my team's tagline is, we make the smoothest ice cream in the world. Now, obviously we don't make the ice cream itself, but our valve is instrumental in eliminating the bubbles that can, persist in ice cream. So it does make it the best soft serve for sure. And so ice cream is obviously a rally point for kids. Who doesn't love ice cream? So we actually went once a month every week. I mean, once a month, one week for 1 hour with some kind of STEM activity, so they could learn about our company. It was a little harder to bring them in for a tour because we had 1 hour. We're doing that this year with Mount Airy, and we're doing this also with Coleraine Middle School. And there are teachers that are very interested to get businesses in to talk to students, whether it's just once a year or once a month, whether it's a talk to the students about career paths in manufacturing or doing a STEM activity. And I'll tell you what, the kids just loved it. And when they saw us at a career fair, they remembered our name. So very powerful, very impactful.
Thanks for sharing. That's great.
Could I say a couple of things from an educator? First of all, Jennifer, kudos. Way to go, Clifford. Also, and I was thinking as Bill was talking, definitely always let students know what is the end game, like what is something that you're actually making. I know when I first started this and learning about manufacturing, I was just so confused at first because I expected to go in and see an assembly line, honestly. And when I didn't see an end product, I'm like, it just took me a while for my brain to figure out what was going on. So students, obviously, I think that's helpful to let them know, like ice cream, like there's something that this component, in the end game, this is what happens. So, and I also wanted to share, I talked to an educator a couple days ago as we're trying to reach out to get educators, signed up for these, find out who's interested and who can bring students. And he's taught for 20-ish years, but had taught math, is now teaching an engineering robotics class. And he said, oh my gosh, this is great. He asked me to call him. I'd sent out some electronic stuff and he said, call me and let's talk about this. So I explained what was going on and he said, oh, this is great. Like, thank you. I teach robotics. I know of manufacturers that are near me. I have no idea who to call and how to get into the door. And I'm worried about my curriculum and teaching. So, time is a component too. And so anyway, great connection for him. He's very excited to bring his students. So.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on that. As you guys are creating these experiences for students, do not forget about the educator. You have the students for one day. The educator has them for the rest of the year. So, you know, they are your ambassadors. So when they come there, it doesn't matter if they're an engineering teacher or if they're, you know, English teacher or whatever they're teaching. If you can inspire them to have a platform for what great things your business do, they want the best for their students. So they want to encourage their students to take a part of this. So thinking about that educator as they come in, what are the transfers to curriculum? What are the ways that you can get that educator excited about talking about your company for the next year? Because they're going to be looking for antidotes. They're going to be looking for things to bring back to inspire the students with.
I love it. That's awesome. How can they build it into future curriculum, and who can they engage with at your company afterwards? I love that idea.
Mhm.
Give them that point person. Yep, that's great.
Yeah,
idea.
well, I'm going to jump in here really quick too, because I did want to say, like, during my time at Millicron, we had one larger manufacturing day every year in October, but typically we would also do smaller things throughout the rest of the year because it was a little bit better on our workload, and we would work with different clubs. So the reason I even got involved with AMIP is because there was an engineering and 3D printers club at Claremont Northeastern, and we had 20 girls all come in during Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, and we did specific stuff too, like with our other female engineers, to kind of show them and provide like basically a mentor that didn't necessarily have to do anything. It was just a day of, they got to ask a bunch of questions, they got to do some activities, they got to see our tour, and it was a much smaller lift. So those that are looking at, hey, I'm new at this and I don't want, you know, a larger event, you can look at different clubs and those schools and those educators especially, who are designed, you know, whether it's chemistry or something else that's like a prerequisite for what's going on in manufacturing. They completely understand and they're willing to work with you on that as well.
Take the next.
Yep.
So, then we're going to go to next steps now and wrap this meeting. I want to make sure we introduce Jeff Young to you all, because you're going to probably receive a phone call or an email from Jeff. Jeff is with the track group, and he's working with all the companies in the room who, I'm going to let Jeff come off mute and introduce himself, but he's going to reach out to you and ask you, when is your tour? Who do you want to tour? And we'll try to start that linkage between the educator, that student group, that Boy Scout group, Girl Scout group, that whatever group, and coming into your plant. So Jeff, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Susan. Appreciate it. So this is my first year with AMIP. I found their resources to be amazing, and I'm going to be bringing Susan along with me to make sure that you're getting the full experience. But yeah, Lacey's helping me. You may get some automated emails from me. So if I'm doubling up on communication, I apologize for that. We're building the airplane as it flies a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to work with everyone. And I've always been passionate about workforce development here, specifically in Cincinnati. If you ask me my story, it's, you know, always been here, always will be here. Married a West Sider who's one of 5 that's always going to live around here. So developing the next generation to keep manufacturing going in the area is a big deal to me. So I'm excited to work with everyone, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So real fast, I just want to wrap up. Thanks for keeping an eye on the time, Susan. Again, if you are a manufacturer out there, or you're an educator out there, go to the AMIP website. If you have questions or concerns, reach out to us, and we can help you answer these questions if you have them. But as a wrap up, I mean, what to do next? Whether you're an educator or you're a manufacturer, I mean, right now, this week, figure out who's on your team. If it's one person's job, it's going to be really challenging to drive it into your organization, whether it's a school or a Boy Scout troop or a Scout troop or a manufacturer. So who's your team of 3 that's helping you make this happen? Figure out who that is, and figure out which date works for your company. You know, manufacturing day is an individual day, but more and more we talk about manufacturing month. If it's a Wednesday and that's what works out for you, or if it's, you know, whatever day works out with the local school, figure out those days, dates, and let's make that happen. What days or dates work for you? Get those in your calendar, because we all know how quickly calendars fill up. So right now, this week, try to figure out who the people are, find your dates. Soon, contact AMIP, fill out the form or message us. Let us know you're planning an event. You are not alone. Let us help you. If you're having trouble engaging a school, you know, Jeff's a good resource, and we have lots of other resources in the room today that are here to help you make sure you're engaging with students and helping you engage with organizations. And then by mid-September, you know, have a pretty good idea what you're going to do by mid-September. That's in a couple of weeks. You know, who and what are on your tour? How do you get them something to hold in their hand? And how do you create how do you create an experience that educates and excites? So please, please, please remember to register your event with NAM and with AMIP. That helps us, especially with AMIP, that helps us record the numbers of impact and allows us to keep track of all the great things that are going on in the region. And if you have 2 students or you have 200 students, we want to know about it. So please let us know if you give a tour, no matter how big or small. And then I'm here always, as well as Lacey and Susan and all of us. And the best way to find us is on the socials and our website. So really appreciate everybody's time today. We're 1 minute over. Thanks so much for joining us, and hope to talk to you soon. Don't forget our meetings in November. What day is our meeting in November?
November the
1st. November the 1st is our AMIP meeting. On the website, you can actually go and get a calendar appointment, and you can get an RSVP, and you'll get reminder emails if you go to the website and go to the events page. So our 4th quarter meeting is November the 1st. So great. Thanks everybody for joining, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Yep.